Good morning, everyone. Welcome to February. And you want to wait just a minute, Claudette, for a few more to hop in? Okay.
The recording is on, so just making sure everything is there. And yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, good morning again, and welcome to the Apply Texas meeting. My name is Dara Newton. I am with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, and I am one of your co-chairs for today. And we have our other co-chair. I'll let Laura introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Laura Isdell with Collin College, and I'm excited to see everyone today.
And we'll be serving as your co-chairs. It is February 27th, 2025. The time is 10:05 a.m. And we would like to call the Apply Texas Advisory Committee meeting to order.
Awesome. So before we begin, we do have a few guests joining us today. So, and I think I've seen most of these people. So welcome, Molly Gully, Senior Director of Advising Strategy, Ronit Shaham, Product Manager for Apply Texas, and Amy Ziegner, Product Manager, and Anne Marie Scarborough, Education Technology Program Manager with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. We are gonna take roll call for everybody, and we're gonna use the Apply Texas members list. So if you don't have it open, please, I encourage you to open it because we're gonna follow the order of that as we do introductions. And what we're going to do is we will start with Dallas College, which is at the top left, right under my name on that roll call. And we're gonna go left to right, and then the next row. So we will go Dallas College to then University of Texas at Tyler, and then go down to Lamar State. So that's going to be the order. So you will want to have your sheet, and I'm going to let you guys facilitate this yourselves as we go down the roll call. So if Dallas College would be willing to go ahead and kick us off.
Dallas College, Jana Barnett, present.
UT Tyler, David Barron, Vice President, present.
Okay, Tessie may not be here, so I'll go. This is Katrina Brent, Vice President, Enrollment Management and Marketing, present.
Megan Brinks, Dean of Outreach and Financial Aid for Midland College, I'm here.
Shelby Claridge, Assistant Director, Admissions Processing, A&M Central Texas.
Jorge Dimas, Laredo College, present.
Judy Enix, Texas A&M University, Director of Freshman Admissions.
Jamie Hansard, Vice President of Enrollment Management at Texas Tech University.
Maria Juarez, Director of Enrollment Services at Amarillo College, present.
Sam Houston State is up next, and I thought I saw you.
Mary Pascarella, Sam Houston State University. I didn't understand the instructions. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Sorry about that. And then I'm not sure if I saw University of Houston Victoria yet. So we'll go to Del Mar College.
Okay, Stephanie Salazar, Assistant Director of Admissions here at Del Mar College.
Michael Sanders, Associate Vice President of Enrollment, University of North Texas.
Stevenson, Registrar of Lamar Institute of Technology.
Hi, Amanda Leach, in place of Dr. Christine Velasquez for University of Texas, El Paso.
Raymond Blakely, AVP for Admissions at UT Austin, here for Miguel Vasilevsky.
Lou Waterhouse, Director of Admissions and Enrollment Services, Lone Star College.
Young Lee, Student Representative, UT Austin.
Awesome. So please do record in the minutes that we have a quorum. And since we are meeting virtually, we will review some meeting guidelines to help make sure that we're able to effectively manage the meeting for today. As a reminder, this meeting is an open meeting. It is being broadcast for the public and being recorded for later viewing. Please be sure to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. A quorum has been established via roll call. In order to keep the quorum, you must keep your camera on at all times. If you're not visible and we are no longer a quorum, we'll have to stop the meeting. There will be time for breaks as needed, but please be sure to return promptly to proceed with committee business. To manage the committee discussion via Zoom, please unmute and identify yourself prior to speaking for the record. So Laura Isdell, Collin College would be an example. We ask that you wait for one person to finish before speaking. Otherwise, comments may be muddled or unclear. Should the conversation become unmanageable, we will direct you to use the raise hand feature. This can be found if you click on the participants icon, and you will see 3 buttons toward the bottom of the list. Please raise your hand and lower your hand after you've had a time to speak, and we'll only use that feature if we need to. For this meeting, when the committee will vote on items, motions will be voted on by raising your hand in the camera like this and saying aye in favor or no if opposed. At the end of the meeting, please be aware that the meeting is still being recorded. Upon adjournment, we ask that you keep comments limited so staff can stop the recording. Are there any questions before we move on to the next item? Okay, I don't see any. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Dara for the next agenda item.
Fantastic. We'll move on to agenda item 2, approval of the minutes from October 30th, 2024. You should find these materials or the minutes in the material you received via email. If you will please review and let us know if there are any changes or edits, and we'll pause for a few minutes for you to be able to do that.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Hopefully I gave everyone, no minutes, David, no changes?
No changes.
Okay. Since there are no changes to the minutes, we need to take a vote for the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion from the floor?
I can move to approve. Megan Brink, Midland College.
Okay, I have a motion made by Megan to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second, Raymond Blakely.
We have a second from Raymond Blakely. So members, please show of hands on the screen if these are approved. Okay, the motion passes and we will move on to agenda item 3. The Apply Texas team continues to resolve reported issues and implement enhancements that will improve the functionality of the Apply Texas Admin, Applicant, and Counselor Suite. I'm going to turn this over to Ronique, Product Manager, who will provide an update on Apply Texas.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Right, I hope you can see it. Oops. Can you all see my presentation? Okay. All right, so hi everyone. In today's product update, I'm going to review the key highlights from our recently completed development sprint, followed by a preview of what we're working on in the current sprint. But before diving in, I'm going to quickly summarize our development team's structure and process. So the coordinating board contracted Deloitte Digital to help us launch and maintain Apply Texas. A dedicated support and maintenance services team, SMS, helps us keep our applications running smoothly. They handle any issues that arise, fix bugs, and make sure everything stays up to date. The SMS team works in sprints, and tasks are broken down into 6-week chunks of work. The goal is to deliver incremental progress, allowing for frequent feedback and adjustments, ensuring continuous improvement and alignment within with the overall product vision. Let me see. And yes, they are supporting both our Apply Texas project and other projects like My Texas Future. The SMS team also works on improving the product over time by adding new features, optimizing performance, and ensuring security. Essentially, they're there to make sure the product continues to function well and meets users' needs. Over an overview of some of the services that they offer are maintaining our backlog, like prioritizing, addressing ongoing tasks, bug fixes and patches, quickly resolving issues and applying fixes to improve performance, data support, analytics and performance monitoring, website audits, WordPress updates, and any kind of periodic application security maintenance work and reporting. So next, I'm going to review some of the key updates we made to Apply Texas during the most recent development sprint. Starting with the admin portal. Sprint 4 was last deployed on February 20th, which was last week. So starting with the admin portal, we have enabled individual EDI downloads for transmitted applications, which is a big new feature that we've enabled. I'll skip over to the screenshot. So you can see here, we've added a button alongside the PDF download that already was there to allow admin users to download EDI files. The feature provides users with the ability to download single EDI files for transmitted applications. I'm going to repeat that a lot because I find it to be a crucial aspect of the feature. So the button will appear regardless if the application has been transmitted or not, but the EDI, a valid EDI file will only be downloaded if the application has been transmitted. Seems pretty straightforward, but we understand that the button being there could be deceptive, but only a transmitted application could be downloaded. If any changes were made between the time the application was first submitted and transmitted and the time you're trying to download, so let's say you're trying to download something that was submitted and transmitted a month ago, and since then we've made some changes, the student made changes, you will need to go in and regenerate the EDI in the regenerated section of the admin portal before downloading. If you fail to do that, the EDI will not be up to date. Let me go back to the list. Next on the applicant portal, we have worked on improving the school search functionality to ensure users select the correct applications and to reduce application deletions. So I'll skip over to the design. So this is what our school search looks like now on the applicant portal. If you remember, the semester and application type used to be part of the filter window, which users would have to go and click and open separately. So in order to attempt to enhance the search and prevent mistakes, we moved the start semester and application type out of that window into the main search page. And you can see what it looks like when the drop-down is open. And then we updated the copy here of the show only relevant applications to only show your application type. So students can still toggle between the options, but the default is to show them only the application types that are relevant to them based on their initial screener. And the more filters still has other filters in it, more fine-tuned options they can go and use, but the term and an application type will be front and center. Another thing we added to the applicant portal this sprint is the requirement of address validation. So previously, users with US addresses were able to enter their address without necessarily validating it, which opened up the door for a lot of mistakes. So any US address, any student or applicant that is selecting US as their country will now have to click on the validate button and validate their address using an address database. This will hopefully ensure that only accurate and complete addresses are accepted. And this applies to all address fields across the application. Next, we updated the logic to automatically pre-populate citizenship status in core questions based on earlier response from the screener section. This helps save time and reduce user input errors. And then we've also gotten a lot of reports about missing student data and financial aid information in the counselor suite. We've addressed the errors in the data, such as inconsistent time zones, to ensure all relevant student data is captured correctly. All right, so next I'll provide a sneak peek into some of the exciting upcoming features we're working on. Here we go, Sprint 5. So the first thing we're doing, we're enhancing the EDI download feature. So to allow admin users to download EDI files in bulk. The features will allow to download multiple EDI files based on a specific date range, making it easier to manage large volumes of data efficiently. And again, same as the individual EDI file download, you will have to regenerate EDIs if there were any changes or updates since the last time it was transmitted. Next, we're adding validation to place of birth. We're trying to make sure that users enter correct and standardized information, reducing errors and improving data accuracy. Next, we're checking for duplicate validations on custom questions. So before submitting applications, users will now receive a check for duplicate answers to custom questions. This feature will help reduce submission errors and improve the quality of responses. We made some changes to the payment page and the post-submission page updates. We'll keep on making updates as we go along, but for now, we've made some copy changes. We've restructured some of those to make the information clear and more effective. We're introducing a single sign-on feature together with myTexas Future, such that users will be able to have a seamless experience logging in between platforms. And lastly, we're keeping doing our work on improving the data and financial aid information in the counselor suite. That is all for me. In the next agenda item, I'm going to demo our proposed designs for the EDI functionality as well as the payment page and ask for some feedback. And if you would like to send me your feedback separately, I can follow up after this meeting. I'm going to hand it over now to my colleague Anne Marie to go over some of the recommended PyTexas resources.
I can go ahead and take that, Renee. If you'll just move to the next page. So we just wanted to remind everyone of the resources that are available for you to take a look at. We have the web page, which is that redesigned PyTexas web page. There you'll find all of our archived resources, some instructional videos on how to do some of what Ronit shared, which is regenerating. There's some resource guides, some additional trainings that have been recorded from the past to maneuver through the admin portal if you need it. And we also provide some of the communication, or we provide the communications we've been sending out. We update this webpage with that information, so you can always go back to the redesigned Apply Texas webpage. Next slide. We do want to let you know that the coordinating board is doing our best to communicate these activities and all the different maintenance updates that we're providing. We do this in a number of ways. We send out emails to our listserv, all of those that are in our admin portal. But we are going to add another layer of communication by creating a Lunch and Learn series. And so we're going to be hosting this Apply Texas Lunch and Learn series starting next week on March 6th. And it's going to start at noon. Hopefully you've received that communication to be able to RSVP and join us. It'll be an update similar to what Ronit has provided today, which is going over what are some of the maintenance updates that happened in the last sprint. This Lunch and Learn series is going to be open to all stakeholders. It's going to give anyone who's interested in learning about the changes that are made to Apply Texas the opportunity to hear the updates from the last maintenance, and then also see a demo of the new features or different enhancements that were made during the last sprint. And then we're also going to provide an overview of what's to come, like what's on the roadmap. So we wanted to let you know that that's coming. We are also working on trying to be better at communicating when there are delays in your EDI transmissions, so that you can get those quick snapshots of when the system is down as well. So we just wanted to let you know that we are trying to improve that communication as also. Are there any questions for Ronit or for any of what we've shared today? As Ronit mentioned, she's going to go over some feedback here shortly, but I'll now turn it over. If there are no questions, I'll go ahead and turn it over back to our co-chairs. I think, Laura, this one's
All right.
you.
I think Laura will be taking the lead on agenda item 4 since there are no additional questions for Ronit.
All right. Agenda item 4 is review and discussion on process for new proposed changes to the Apply Texas forums or procedures. This item is to bring forth recommendations to the committee for feedback and discussion. And I'm going to turn it back over to Claudette Jinks with the coordinating board to begin the discussion.
Thank you so much. We do have a few items for discussion today. First, as we continue to make improvements to the Apply Texas system, the Apply Texas team is seeking up to 5 committee members, at least 2 members from a 2-year institution and 2 members from a 4-year institution. But we need a total of 5 committee members, and we're limiting it to 5. It's to serve on the core questions review subcommittee. The purpose of this subcommittee is to examine all the core questions in Apply Texas to determine if they reflect the most recent federal guidelines and if they're how they're being used for admissions decisions. The core questions subcommittee will meet up to possibly up 2 to 3 times on March and April. And the meetings should be scheduled for about an hour, just depending on the need. So this is a similar exercise to when there was a small committee that reviewed the questions when we did this launch, when we were developing the new redesigned Apply Texas. So we're going to do this again with those 2 items in mind. So, we wanted to see if there's any interest here. You can simply raise your hand and I'll take note of your interest. We are limiting to 5 members from this committee. It'll be 2 of the 2-year and 2 of the 4-year, and then we'll have whoever else is interested. So you can simply raise your hand here, or you can email me directly and I can note your interest. So I do see Jorge and what is okay. I see Mary. Sorry, I'm looking through the screen. Let's see. Did I have anyone else? Shelby, I see you. Jorge, I think I have you already. All right, let's see. Do we have? I have Jorge, Mary Shelby, and Miss Juarez. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Okay. I will reach out to others to make sure we have a team of 5 and make sure that we have representation, good representation, again, 3-year and 4-year representation. Okay. I will now turn it back over to Renee to kind of go over those 2 items that she said she was going to bring to your attention, which is the enabling the bulk EDI downloads by date. And then she's also going to review the payment information page and most post-submission updates for feedback. So I'll turn it over to you, Renee.
Thanks for that. Let me share my screen again. Make sure everyone can see. And I'm not sure why I can't.
If so, there you are.
Yeah, it's just weirdly not like still showing my browser, but I guess that's not okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. You'll see my browser too. So I'm going to present a few screenshots for you to review. I said starting with the bulk EDI downloads by date. So we thought about different possibilities and options of where to integrate that feature. And we chose to add the new download feature in the application search page alongside the other download options like CSV and JSON. Collapse all the download options under one dropdown. The rationale is that admin users are already familiar with this page for other file exports, and they can use the filters to focus on specific time range. That being said, we are aware that EDI downloads are closely tied with regeneration and retransmission. So as far as workflow, it might also make sense to add it to the transmission page. So that would look something like this. This is where the transmission, retransmit and redownload and also transmission preferences page is currently. So we were thinking maybe this could be an option that will fit users' workflow. I'm happy to get people's perspective, how this integrates into their workflow, and if any of the designs makes more sense than the other. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So are you going to put these on both pages or just one or the other?
Ideally one. And again, this perspective is what we initially or are going with in order to simplify and the process of just simply collapsing it with the other download options. But we do see the value of it also being on this page. So ideally it would be, yes, in one area, but we weren't sure how the kind of day-to-day process makes the most sense. And if it would add extra steps if we add it here, but then you have to go and regenerate it on the other page. So I'm also happy to answer questions offline. I know you might need some more time to kind of process it. So happy to move forward if there's no questions.
I have a quick question, Maria from Amarillo College. So if somebody inadvertently selects EDI when they're trying to do maybe a CSV file download, is there an immediate action taken just by selecting it, or does that take you to a place that you can come back from before it actually takes any action?
That's a really good question. The action is immediate. So yes, so when you click on it, you'll get the CSV. I mean, you will get prompted with a save to your browser window, but yeah, the action is immediate. Curious to know if there's a concern, if this is something that you see as a
No, I know, with the other websites and stuff, you sometimes your mouse is a little slower than, or your hand, or the website's reaction is a little bit faster than you intended. And so I can definitely see where somebody might be intending to scroll down a little bit further and hit CSV and accidentally click on the wrong one.
Yeah. But yeah, you do have to actively click. It's not just about hovering. So there is, more intent, but yeah, I understand this is something that we're happy to test to see if there's any delay or latency in the selection of the options.
Hi, this is Laura Isdell, Collin College. I think I have a couple questions. Initially, I was thinking, yes, this page is where it makes sense, but then I think you said something like, would it be weird to have to run the process here, but go to a different page to then get the file? And yes, that is weird. I would think all of it would be in one location. And then the only other point of feedback I want to offer is that it would be really helpful to be explicit that if the file has not already been transmitted, you cannot retransmit it, because last week when we weren't getting files, we kept trying that as a means to hopefully get them. And so I just think if it could be really clear that the file had to have already been transmitted to retransmit, even though that might sound intuitive, we were just trying whatever we could.
Right. Yes. We're constantly working on adding more tooltips and information text to the page. So yeah, that is really valuable feedback. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I'll hop over to the payment page. So as I mentioned before, the changes here focus more on copy and structure of the page, but it is what we see as the key issue with the existing design, specifically that there was great focus on the application fee, which made applicants think that this is also the page where they will be paying, which we know they won't be able to. So we want to make sure to highlight to anyone who sees this page that they cannot pay through Apply Texas, but while still providing them information about the payment. So this page has been restructured and rewarded to make sure that the focus here that users won't miss, since we are aware that people don't read. So we want to make sure whatever is most prominent and is most highlighted is the fact that you have to pay, just not here. Any thoughts or questions?
Could there be an alternate message for schools that don't require payment? Because this does sometimes still create questions from students, even though it tells them that the payment is zero and all of those prompts are set that way. Some students, because they see it on their actions to take still, it still creates some confusion for students about, okay, so it says zero, but it's still reminding me that I need to take care of payment.
Yes, and I'm happy you brought it up. So currently the page still will show zero, but when we go back to the items to complete or those checkboxes, this is something that we're looking to review. And my colleague Amy Ziegner, who is our UX designer, is actively working on, and we would love to talk to any of you to get feedback on our thoughts and our assumptions that we're making about those pages. So yes, definitely we are aware that, especially for students who are not paying, there's some confusion. So we're looking to make that more simplified and clear.
And just to add to that, Laura Isdell Collin College is if it's gonna be visible, then the instructions below should be relevant for anyone who goes on it. So if you have an application fee of $0, your school's not gonna email you. So there's no need to check your email for the rest of the information. So maybe just looking at retooling the language below to reflect that if you have a zero fee, there's not gonna be additional payment information coming to you.
This is Mary at Sam Houston State, and I would suggest you use the word business days because of students who submit after whatever time on Friday. We don't get those apps oftentimes until Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, great feedback. Anyone from the coordinating board has any comments or feedback on these questions? Not, I'll hop over to our next. And thank you, everyone. This is really good feedback. The last page that we are working on, and again, includes those checkboxes that right now we're not going to look into. What we did here is we added the application ID to the top of the page because right now it's kind of buried at the bottom, and we have heard from students that they have a hard time finding their application ID, and we had to direct them to the URL. So we're trying to make it all front and center. Same thing for the admissions or the school contact info. Brought it up to make it visible and clear, more prominent. As I said, this page is still being worked on, constantly iterating it, trying to make sure information is clear, especially when it comes to your next steps, as it pertains to the different types of applications. That's it for me today. I don't know if there's any more questions, but like I said, we're always looking for feedback. So if you're interested in meeting with us at another time to review designs or any other features, we can send a follow-up email with our information, or you can reach out to Claudette. Yes, we're always happy to get your perspective.
Are there any last questions for Ronit? And as she mentioned, we do periodically send out call outs to institutions. Of course, we utilize our advisory committee often. That's a good segue into some of the other items. If I didn't hear any other questions for Ronit, just know that you have the hosting abilities, so please don't leave until, but if you need to, let us know, and we can take back that hosting ability.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Ronit. Real quickly, there were a couple of other items. Like I said, it segues into a few things that we often send to the advisory committee for feedback when, since we don't have a lot of time since we do have a lot of time between our meetings, we periodically send out emails to the committee to ask for feedback to see if there are any implications for certain things. One of the most recent things that we wanted to follow up on is I did send an email to the committee, I guess it was last week, or the week before. The days are blurring together for me since I was out ill. But one of the items is for discussion was that email that was about dual credit and graduate those that use the dual credit and graduate application. I know some of you do not use either one of those, but for those that do, I know some of you did send in some feedback for us, and that feedback was shared with our team, but we wanted to open it up for further discussion to give an opportunity here to see if there's any information that you can help us better understand the use of family information. And just to revisit that question, the question to the committee is, if your institution uses a dual credit and or the graduate application in the Apply Texas, does your institution utilize, how does your institution utilize the information section for these respective applicants? And feel free to come off mute and share. Like I said, I did receive some feedback, but we wanted to open it up for further discussion to better understand this. Our assumption, just so I can go ahead, our assumption is you do not need the family information for dual credit applicants, but you do need the family information for graduate applications. So anyone have any feedback or additional information to share? How do you use the family information, or do you not use it at all? I guess is the question.
This is Mary at Sam Houston State University. We do not use the family information at all at the graduate level. They're just additional questions that they have to answer. And we wouldn't use it. There just isn't a need for it. If we did use it, it would probably be maybe to identify people that are first gen, possibly. I'm not even sure how we would use that information.
Thank you, Mary.
This is Katrina Brent with Lamar. We also don't use the family information on the graduate.
This is Laura Isdell. I think I shared this, but the only time we use the family information is for our F1 student applicants.
Any last thoughts? Thank you guys for revisiting that one, but any last thoughts? Feedback? Okay. There are a couple of other items that came to us for consideration, and I wanted to bring those to your attention as well. One of them is applicants selecting the correct semester. We've heard from a number of institutions that this is a pain point for applicants. And so, as Renee shared earlier, there have been improvements made to assist the applicant, as she shared in the school search feature. And we've also updated the way the semesters are presented. It was farthest to closest. Now it defaults closest to farthest. We do understand that this continues to be somewhat of a pain point for applicants and for the institutions. So the team is continuing to improve this for the user. And we have heard from institutions that there is an interest in reordering the term and semester drop-down list to fall, spring, and summer. So the question to the committee is this something of interest? And is there anything that we should be considering as the Apply Texas team explores this recommendation?
I'll chime in that for probably more than just us. It's probably common for community colleges, but we will have 2 fall terms open at the exact same time for a period. So if it was listing both falls together, I think that's more confusing than listing them in what's closest to farthest.
This is Mary at Sam Houston. We now keep our fall application open longer than the traditional large term deadline to support part of term applicants. So having that nearest listed first has caused a lot of our undergrad students to misapply to the wrong term.
So are you guys pro for the fall, for like if they're just the fall, spring, and summer listing in that way? I know in the past there was fall, spring, summer 1, summer 2, I believe. Is that somewhat of a good breakdown for this, considering what you've shared?
I just would not want both fall terms together. I think
Okay.
that would be confusing.
To separate the fall terms. Anyone else like to share? I'm not hearing any or seeing anybody wanting to come off mute, so we can keep that open, but I will move on to the next item. I wanted to let you know that we are aware that we've been hearing a lot about fraudulent applications. So the Apply Texas team is aware of the activity and is actively working on strengthening its security protocols. The team is working on incorporating the reCAPTCHA in the upcoming application cycle to help resolve this activity. So for the time being, we're asking you to make sure that you're only allowing students that have a .edu email address, so that you're giving communications or opportunities for those. So that's something that as a best practice in the interim, but I did want to give you that update that the team is working on incorporating that reCAPTCHA to help with this issue. So any questions or comments with that?
This is Mariette. Sam, I think for the current time being at the graduate level, we have a lot of students who apply that wouldn't be using a .edu application email.
This is also at Amarillo College, and I don't know necessarily about the email being used, but one of the common factors that we find is the invalid high school information. It's like really strange, like their grad year compared to their birthday, the school. It tends to be like a high school, but it's like in the wrong state. So you can find the high school, but not in the state that they're missing. So I don't know what could be put in place to help filter some of that data a little bit better. But the high school information for us has been a strong indicator of those questionable applications.
So is the issue bots or you just fraudulent? You think it's third-party individuals?
Megan Briggs with Midland College. At our school, we're seeing more and more actual third parties where it's not just a bot. So we are very excited about the CAPTCHA, yay. And also it's getting weird over here. We've gotten some really good fake high school transcripts. There was one that our record specialist, for whatever reason, there was nothing on it that prompted her to do it, but for whatever reason, she decided to call the school and it wasn't real. But we're getting some really good fake ones.
Shanna Barnett, Dallas College. We are also receiving a lot of uptick of fraudulent applications. We're also seeing we're in the process of a Workday integration, and a lot of our students, we're seeing on the student era side where they are typing, let's say, for example, W.T. White is a high school in Dallas, and on the Apply Texas application, it's listed as Warren T. something. They're not populating the correct high school, and so therefore the other box is being chosen. So we're having to dig and find out, did the student really attend this college, and it's messing up some of our integration processes. So if there was any way to use AI in a way where the student sort of types in the high school name, that it gives them a list of these 2 or 3 options, that it might be this high school or the second one, that would help us out a lot. We're having to go through a lot of records just trying to correct student errors from high school names and even college names.
Hi, all. Molly Gully. I'm with the coordinating board. Just want to jump in and provide a little bit of clarification. So we are seeing fraudulent apps both with bots and with third parties and individuals. So it is something that when we've reached out to UT Austin, we're seeing it at about the same rate as what it was in the previous application. And like I said, that's why the reCAPTCHA will help with the bots. It is not going to help with the individuals. When our CISO has looked into this, his recommendation has been that these individuals are looking to obtain a .edu email address. That .edu email address allows them to access other resources and commit further fraud. So the best practice is making sure that you are only giving a .edu email address to individuals who have been admitted to your institution. So that is a best practice that you can do to reduce the number of those individuals. One thing that I do want to bring up when I'm hearing about the high school, I do want to make you all aware that since the launch last June, we have been continually making improvements to the high school list. So what I'm hearing on this call is not necessarily an indicator of higher fraud. It is an indication of our high school list has not been as tailored as they needed to be, up until very recently. So for example, if there is a George Washington High School, in the previous list, the student would just see 5 George Washington high schools. One may be in, I don't know, let's say Dallas. Another one may be in Baltimore. Another one may be in Seattle. They would have no idea which one. So they may just select that first one. And so that's why you're seeing this mismatch of this person is saying they live in Dallas, but they're saying they attended George Washington in Seattle. So I do want to make y'all aware of that issue. It has recently been resolved. We have added the city and the state to the high schools. But I do want to make you aware so that you're not maybe incorrectly flagging these as fraudulent, as opposed to the student just didn't know that they were selecting the wrong high school. We have we're going to continue to refine that high school list, and I love these. There are other ways of if we can see their addresses in a certain city, perhaps we could then only display those high schools in that city. And then if they don't see it, then open up the list. So those are great. That's great feedback for our product team here. Any questions about those points of clarification?
Just the one real quick. It's not necessarily that they're listing a school that exists in multiple cities and it appears to be the wrong. It's like schools that don't exist in the city that they named. So for example, a Chicago something something school in California, and we tried to find it and there was no such school with an address in California.
Yeah, then that would be an indicator of a fraudulent app. Yeah, I wanted to just
those
to
are some of what we're
sure.
seeing.
Yes, so this is an and situation. There's definitely some user experience, and we're seeing fraudulent apps.
And Molly, I do think in the last probably 3 weeks or even a month that the fraudulent apps, those or whatever is producing those, they are getting smarter, because our first round, we saw reused birthdays or reused addresses. And then in last week, we're starting to see it's getting smarter in how they put information into the system. So we've been trying to catch and clean, but something's happening over these weeks. And if it's the bot or if it's an individual, they are starting to get smarter and not reusing a birthday or not reusing like the same maybe first and last name. And so that's getting harder to catch, because we thought we were starting to catch those. But now as they broaden what they're doing, it is getting more expansive. One of the things that we've just caught, because we are not really an out-of-state school, so we're watching our out-of-state apps. We typically are 90. We're over like 350, and we know that's not accurate. And so we know we're having to clean those, but they are getting smarter right now as we're going through this cycle. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that or how you're digging into it, but our team has talked about how it's starting to to advance and they're getting better at what they're doing after the first sort of go round.
Fully agree. And they're growing because we track them every month, how many we identify. And in November, we were at 215 and in January, 480. So they're definitely growing.
This is great feedback. Thank you. I'll definitely take this back. We can look at it. Both, again, our CISO can continue to review this, and then the team can look for other ways that we can combat this.
This is Lou Waterhouse with Lone Star. I just wanted to, sort of confirm that we are seeing many of the same things that have been reported by others, the high school stuff and the fact that they're getting smarter. There are more of them. We are finding that there probably is some sort of a bot component when we look at the timestamp on the date the application was created against the time it was submitted. It would be humanly impossible to complete the application from start to finish in less than a minute. And that's what we're seeing on a lot of these. So there is sort of that dual component of third party against what we believe is something sort of automated or automatic. One more thing that we are seeing is that, and this is so hard to catch if everything else looks okay, is that the addresses and phone numbers are those of businesses. They're not, if you Google it, boom, a barbecue restaurant comes up, or, something else that just really shouldn't be, the type of information that's shared in an admissions application.
Thank you for sharing that. That's also really good inputs for us.
I know for Del Mar, we've also seen an influx of we call them fake applications, fraudulent applications, and they seem to have a lot of commonalities. We've seen where they're using like one student as a emergency contact, and then that same student's applying. So like the names are the same. We see that they are picking like a Christian school in Texas, but they have a different address. They're using the not so common graduation date. So we're kind of seeing the same things, but it's a lot of commonalities in the same application. So that's kind of how we're identifying them, and we're making sure not to process them so that they don't get that EDU web email.
Thank you for all of these inputs. This is really helpful to us as we continue. Like I said, this is something we're continuing to refine and figure out ways that we can reduce fraudulent applications. I'll turn it back over to Claudette.
Yes, thank you all for your feedback. Those were the only items that we received for discussion. And so if there's not any other questions about some of the items we talked about, I can hand it back over to Laura for the next agenda item.
All right. So agenda item 5 is the discussion on the next meeting date. So first, we want to thank you for participating in our first Apply Texas Advisory Board Committee meeting for this year for 2025. So I'd like to also open it up and ask the committee if y'all have any potential agenda items for the next meeting. Go ahead.
I'd like to, there was some discussion in our residency committee for the TACO the other day regarding the very broad language about residency and how there's some concerns about maybe how it's presented on the My Future Texas website versus the actual administrative code, and how some students may think that it's actually a little less stringent requirement than what it actually is. So schools had concerns about applying the admin code based on such a broad statement that students could get confused and think that it's not as stringent as it actually is. I think it just says, there was a couple of notes that people put in there, but one was you have to be a resident of Texas for 1 year. Eligible residents or people who have domiciled for 1 year prior to applying. That's kind of like the base statement. where, you know, it doesn't really talk about what domicile is or how to domicile.
Maria, I may have missed this. It's a little, didn't hear this. Did you say, where did you say you saw this language again?
The My Texas Future.
That's what I thought I heard. Okay. Thank you. Yes, we will note it. And if you can send me, I've not been in on that forum, but if you can send me some of those bullet points and we can share that with our team that oversees the My Texas Future website so we can align the language. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else?
I know that you mentioned we're looking at better ways to communicate in general, but I'd really love for us to consider having a more direct way to communicate transmission issues when entire files don't come. So if we could put that as a topic to improve or explore.
Thank you, Laura. Yes. So we are working on a communication strategy internally so that communications that are more broad, you know, like our maintenance updates are provided in the way that we continue providing them, but then also more targeted messages to those teams that work directly with those files. So that's what we are working on, that's to better communicate those to the appropriate audiences.
But I can also give the group an update on the work that we're doing with this. So one of the harder things for us is that in determining when these delays are happening. So unlike this past week where EDI transmission it stopped at the Apply Texas point of, and we were then able to go in at the coordinating board, determine what the issue was, fix it, and get that restored. We do recognize there was a delay in identifying that and then getting that communication out. The larger issue that we're working with the National Student Clearinghouse is that there are delays in transmissions that are happening overnight. And so that is, it's a little bit harder for us because once it leaves Apply Texas and goes to the National Student Clearinghouse, we don't get that information until it is then transmitted. So we see the delay, but we see the delay at the same point in time that y'all see the delay. So we are working with the National Student Clearinghouse to, one, figure out the root cause of why we are seeing these overnight delays. Where on a regular basis, there are loads of applications that typically what we see, it's about a 12-hour delay. They have gotten a little bit further on their discovery. We think we've identified the problem. There seems to be a little bit of a traffic jam between the applications coming through and the transcripts through the TREC system. So our partners over at TEA, the transcript system, they also use the National Student Clearinghouse. So we are looking at load balancing with both TEA, Apply Texas, and the Speedy server to try to figure out how to remediate. So they are continuing to be responsive. We're continuing to partner. We've now had to bring TEA into the picture so that we can find a resolution. In the meantime, we are also trying to figure out in our logs, how can we very quickly identify when there has been a delay to a specific institution so that we can alert them and let them know.
Are there any other topics that anybody wants to bring up for the next meeting?
So just to clarify, I have a follow-up on aligning language for the MTF on residency, and then also a follow-up on a communication strategy as well. That's what I have so far. Anything else?
I don't have a topic, but can I ask a real quick question? Has there been any changes to like the Social Security field or the Social Security requirement? Not that it's required, but anything changed with the Social Security number on Apply Texas recently? Because we've noticed the past couple of days that we've received an influx of apps with no social. And then I was speaking to a colleague at another school, and she said that her coworker went into Apply Texas, created a new account, and that it didn't even ask for the social. Does that sound correct?
Renee, I don't know if you have any comments. I'm not aware of any changes to this.
Yeah, same. But we can definitely try to investigate and see if we can recreate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Apologies, this is Jaslyn Rose. I'm Senior Director with the Coordinating Board also. Apologies, I'm not on camera, but can we circle back on the residency comment regarding My Texas Future? One ask that I would have is just, could you take a look at that same page again and tell me like if the information is not up to date or accurate? Because we recently updated that information based on, us receiving tickets about confusion around it.
So I'm on the page right now, and there's basically 4 bullets about how residents go. Who is eligible. And the one is the students who have attended and graduated from Texas Public High School and lived in Texas. And it kind of just says, and lived in Texas as permanent resident for 12 consecutive months right before the semester that you enroll in college. But it doesn't really provide any additional information about domiciling. Now, the old College for All Texans, it kind of had just some broad points as well, but then it referred students back to the actual administrative code so that students had a clear indicator of the full explanation of the admin code. Whereas this one kind of just, gives the 3-point bullet regarding students who attended and graduated Texas High School, and then under that, how does residency affect my financial aid? There's 4 more points, which again refer to students who attended and graduated. And then it just says providing college or university with a notarized affidavit. So it doesn't really talk about the actual non-Texas graduates who have been required to domicile in the state. I don't think it's
so it's just a matter of adding in the code so folks have more additional guidance. Thank you for that clarification. So yeah, I also oversee the team who is still continuing to move content from College for All Texans into My Texas Future. So I will ensure that we also get that code added to that page for additional guidance. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jocelyn, I did ask Maria to send a couple of bullet points for clarification and some recommendations as well. So I can forward those over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudette.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it one more time. Any other additional comments or feedback for the next meeting? And I think we're good. So I'm going to move forward on trying to schedule a time. So the coordinating board does strive to coordinate meetings with the committee members as early as possible. The committee is required to meet 2 times a year. However, depending on the need, the committee has met 3 or 4 times a year. Would the committee like to discuss potential meeting dates or at least windows of time for the next meeting? And if anybody has any suggestions, please go ahead and throw it out.
In prior, just to give you guys some info, in prior years, I think we had our final meeting in April. So if you feel there needs to be another meeting, please let me know. We can, or even dates we want to stay away from, just so that we know we can schedule around those dates.
If we're looking at April, if we could avoid April, just like the very first week of April, that April 1st, or excuse me, 2nd through the 4th, is Pathways Conference. So I can guess there might be a few people not available during that.
Second week is Eli, so that one may also have quite a few people out. 7th through, I think it's like the 7th through the 11th or something.
Thank you both.
So maybe as we get closer, if we could send out a couple options the week of the 14th and the week of the 21st for voting. Would that
I
work?
think, yes, I think last year was towards the later end of April. So what we do is I work with Deanna, our executive administrator, admin. She helps coordinate those meetings. And so we send out that survey that we've sent out before to get a pulse of when we will have quorum. So what we'll do is we'll put together some dates after the first 2 weeks of April so that you have some dates to select from. And we usually select a date where there's a majority of the committee, as well as both co-chairs are available. So those are some of the things that we work around. So thank you for providing that feedback for us.
All right, our final agenda item is adjournment. So this concludes the business of Apply Texas Advisory Committee for February 27th, 2025. If there is no further discussion, do I have a motion for adjournment?
David Barron, UT Tyler, I motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion by David and
I'll second. Shelby Claridge,
Okay, awesome. And
Texas A&M Central Texas.
thank you both. So members, if we could raise your hand if you are in favor. Everybody raise your hand. It appears that we definitely have a motion that passed. So this meeting is adjourned. The time now is 11:15 a.m.